been 2 months for me since I last recorded a new video, and I am in the process of having 2 group shows plus 2 solo shows that I'm working for. And so my studio is fully packed. I've been super focused on creating this new series of work. But I wanted to create a video today about the art block that so many on YouTube, like I see so many artists talking about it. And I have a very different take on creative blocks, and I wanted to share that with you in hopes that it may resonate with you. And I got this little mic that hopefully the audio is good enough, just so I can paint, because sometimes ideas come to me while I'm painting. So let's start. I think the moment that you understand the creative process and how it works, you won't even ask about the creative block. Let me explain what I mean. So anything that you create visually, a piece of art, music, literature, you become almost like the conduit of, you're just the in-between person of what needs to come out and the physical manifestation of whatever it is that is coming out. In the creative process, it's like giving birth. Any creative work, you give birth as part of yourself. You're creating this unto whatever it is medium that you use. Me being a mother and having 2 children, I really equate the creative process with having children. You've birthed this idea onto this world. For instance, you have the conception, then you go to an embryo, then the gestation process. And a lot of people judge their block when it's just in their either embryonic state or the gestation process. But the moment you use the word block, you stop this idea from becoming its potential, because words have a lot of power. And I don't personally like to use the word block at all, because the energy of words matters to me in my artistic process a lot. So I look at it as gestation process. Oftentimes you think the ideas come to you when you're in the shower or you're driving, but the fact is that a lot of the root of the idea has been already in you, and that spark the conception of the child. And then you work on this idea, which is the gestation process, into manifested form, which can be whatever the medium that you're working with. It's like birthing a baby. I can only share what's worked for me. I have never in my life suffered from what others say as a block, because I know how this creation process works. I've done it so many times. You're not blocked. Some ideas just take a longer gestation process to manifest into that spark. Like, for instance, I'm working on 3 very separate series that have been in my head for a couple of years now. And I've developed them and honed them. And sometimes, like, you have a spark for an idea, but later you realize that this piece, the spark of an idea, is going to be part of this process, this series that you've been working on. Allowing yourself that the gestation process takes a lot of patience. It does not happen when you go into the studio and you're like, okay, this is my creative process. Why don't I know what to create? That's usually what people say when they're blocked. I don't know what to create. But the gestation process doesn't happen in the studio. It can, but a lot of the times it comes from observing little things that most people will not pay attention to. That's gestation process. Following whatever you're curious about, whether it be in a museum. I love to go into a vintage bookstore and just flipping through National Geographic catalog from years ago. It's one of my favorite things, because it gives me a glimpse into the lens of the photographer, especially into a world that I may have never known about. A lot of these people have already passed, and it's just such a inspiration for me. And the thing is, following your eye, whatever, it's like we judge the world based on who we are, not on how it is, how we think it is. We think it's that way, but really, we judge the world on how we are. So If you're in the periphery, I'm like, I don't know how I'm percolating on this idea, which is the gestation process. And then you're just going through your daily day, whatever it is, like whatever you're doing, looking for inspiration. And all of a sudden you will have the spark. And it can happen in the studio, it can happen outside the studio, but that spark is the conception of this idea that has, during the gestation period, that spark is going to be the idea of creating a certain work. After that, you have the infant, the toddlers, the teenage stage, and then you're birthing this idea into this world, and then you're passing this work. It's basically you're growing it into adulthood. Then this piece, whatever it is, music, literature, art, it will go on and have a life of its own, separate from you, not being so attached to your work. It's like having kids. Like I have 2 teenagers at home, and witnessing them becoming their own people is the most beautiful thing. Them going through the process of discovering themselves. It's like, to me, it's like my pieces living with a collector or a museum or a gallery. Like my job is done. Now they're going to have a life of their own, because whoever collects a piece is going to have a relationship to the piece that's very different from my relationship in the process of birthing this piece. It's the same thing when I'm looking at my kids. They have a very different relationship with their teachers and their friends, and they're building this little community around them. It's the same thing with your pieces. So I just want to encourage artists to not use the word block, because blocking that energy, you're basically, by using that word block, you're stopping the gestation period of any idea to come through. It's such a strong word. It's like the word hate. It has a lot of oomph to that word. So the word block, to me, shouldn't exist in an artist's vocabulary. You're not blocked. You just need a little bit more patience and understanding the gestation process of the idea to come forth. I'm using gestation a lot, but I feel like it's such a good metaphor. Having created hundreds of paintings, every piece, every series, it goes through the same arc of, ideation, conception, gestation period, sometimes short, sometimes long. Sometimes the gestation period can be a week, sometimes it can be a month, sometimes it can be a year. I have had this idea in my head sometimes for 2 years. And as I start working on it, the pieces within the series come to mind as I'm working on it too. That's why I work on many pieces at a time. Because I work with oils, so sometimes the layers need to dry before I go into with a second layer. And it's such a good example of how life is. I just wanted to pass this along. So in case you're an artist who thinks that they're blocked, please stop using that term. You are not blocked. Allow the idea to percolate, to permeate every aspect of your life, because that's when you create really good work. It happens not once you accomplish it. The process of it is the work itself, and it's so important, and I hope this helps. But I just wanted to put it out there because it's such a good metaphor for the birthing process of any creative form, the birthing process of even your creative career. It goes through this very similar cycle. Anything that you give life to comes from the womb. It is the most beautiful exchange of energy that happens. And then you see your work, somebody's home or in a gallery or in a museum, and you can see it having complete different life of its own. And you just have this proud moment sitting in the corner. I hope this helped in some way. In my YouTube feed, I've just been seeing more and more of these, how to deal with artistic blocks. And I just want to say, artists need patience. Everyone needs patience, but artists especially, because sometimes we have this idea in our head, but when we start doing it, it looks different than idea. But that's good. That's great. Because that means you're not controlling this idea. This idea is going to have a life of its own. And to me, that's like one of the most strongest works of art, when you kind of release the control and you're just in this zone of non-judgment. You're working from your body, of just painting. You're just painting, stepping back, coming forward again, and just keep painting again. That's the process of creation of any artistic endeavor. So let me know in the comments if that resonated. Just keep doing what you're doing. The idea will come to you. The embryo and the baby cannot grow inside you unless you're nourishing it. So please just keep nourishing it day after day, whatever it is you're doing. Studio work, obviously studio work is part of the doing it. Outside, just doing the daily thing, just keep nourishing. Don't use the word block. You stop the life of that idea to coming into fruition. Just nourish it and it will come through. Thank you so much for watching. I will try to do more and more often now that I have this mic, because sometimes I have to sit and record, and this is great because I can paint and talk at the same time, because sometimes more of the ideas come when I'm painting, that I don't have to second guess myself and just go completely off script. So here it is. I'm sorry if I was a bit redundant. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this helped. Let me know in the comments. If this helped you feel okay with not having an idea yet, but knowing that just keep feeding it. Just keep feeding the embryo, the baby inside. It will birth something, and it will birth something beautiful. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.